Maturity is a quiet awakening. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens after you've been hurt enough times, ignored enough times, and disappointed enough times to finally understand your own value. It begins the moment you stop begging for love, attention, time, or effort. It begins the moment you decide that you will no longer force anyone to choose you. Because the truth is simple, if they wanted you, you would never have to convince them. If they valued you, you would never have to prove your worth. And if they cared, you would feel it without asking. You learn this lesson slowly. At first, you chase. You try to explain yourself. You try to fix what you didn't break. You try to prove to people that they should keep you in their life. You send long messages trying to save connections that are already gone emotionally. You make excuses for their behavior. You tell yourself they're busy. You tell yourself they still care. You blame yourself, wondering what you could have done differently. And this cycle continues until one day, you're simply tired. Not angry. Not heartbroken. Just tired. Tired of forcing conversations. Tired of overthinking every silence. Tired of holding on to people who never held you back. That moment of exhaustion is the beginning of maturity. Slowly, you step back. You stop texting first. You stop trying to impress. You stop chasing someone's potential and start accepting their reality. You begin to realize that the people you begged to stay were not meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your life. You begin to understand that sometimes God removes people because He heard conversations you didn't, and saw actions you never noticed. And with this understanding, you grow. Maturity teaches you that love isn't real when it requires pressure. Affection isn't real when it requires reminders. Loyalty isn't real when it requires begging. And relationships, whether romantic, friendships, or family, are not real when only one side is trying. So you stop trying to fill a void in someone's heart that was never your responsibility to begin with. You stop asking people to make time for you because you finally understand that people always make time for what matters to them. Always. As this lesson sinks deeper, you notice a change in yourself. You start talking less. You start choosing your words carefully. You stop telling everyone everything. You stop showing up for people who never show up for you. You start valuing your own company more than the company of those who drain your energy. You stop allowing access to people who don't respect your presence. You start choosing peace over explanation, distance over drama, self-respect over pleasing others. One day you look in the mirror and realize, you're no longer the same person who needed validation from others. You become someone who validates yourself. You become someone who is comfortable being alone. Someone who doesn't chase people, because you finally understand that your energy, your time, and your loyalty are expensive. And not everyone can afford them. You begin to set boundaries, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You begin to decline invitations that disturb your peace. You begin to say, no, without guilt. You begin to let people talk, judge, misunderstand, because you're no longer interested in defending yourself to anyone. You stop explaining your growth to those committed to misunderstanding you. You allow people to think what they want, because their opinion no longer shapes your identity. Maturity is when silence becomes your answer to disrespect. When absence becomes your reaction to games. When detachment becomes your protection. You stop fighting for closure because you realize closure comes from within, not from conversations with those who hurt you. You stop forcing apologies that were never sincere. You stop expecting honesty from people who lie to themselves. You stop giving chances to people who only come back when they need something. And with this mindset, life begins to change. You start attracting better energy, better people, better opportunities. Because when you stop chasing, you start receiving. When you stop forcing connections, the universe brings the right connections to you. When you stop settling for less, life offers you more. Your circle gets smaller but your peace gets bigger. You lose people but you find yourself. You start realizing that not everyone is meant to stay. Some people are lessons, not blessings. Some people came to teach you how to love yourself, not how to love them. Some people came to show you exactly what you should never tolerate again. And once you learn that lesson, you become stronger, wiser, calmer. Suddenly, you're no longer bothered by who likes you or who doesn't. You're no longer affected by who leaves or who stays. Because you finally understand that what is meant for you will always choose you without confusion, without hesitation, without fear. Real connections don't need pressure. Real love doesn't create doubts. Real people don't walk away when it's inconvenient. And when you learn this, you let go, not because you're weak, but because you're finally strong enough to choose yourself. For the first time in years, you feel light. Your heart feels free. You feel like you can breathe again. Because you're no longer carrying relationships on your shoulders. You're no longer begging for loyalty. You're no longer trying to fix people who don't want to grow. You're no longer waiting for someone to treat you the way you treat them. You're no longer breaking yourself to keep others whole. You realize that maturity is not the destination, it's a journey. A journey of unlearning your old patterns, healing your wounds, and rebuilding your identity. A journey of understanding that losing people is not the end of your world, sometimes it's the beginning of yours. A journey of discovering that you are enough, even when no one chooses you. A journey of realizing that the right person will never make you feel like you're asking for too much. Because with the right person, love feels simple, effort feels natural, presence feels comforting. So you keep growing, you keep healing, you keep improving, not to impress others, but to become the best version of yourself. You keep choosing peace over chaos, growth over comfort, reality over fantasy, self-love over approval, and slowly, you transform into someone powerful, someone who knows their worth so deeply that walking away becomes easy when respect is not given. And that is maturity.